I'm Dr. Elizabeth Whelan, and I'm president of the American Council on Science and Health. 26th of February, 2009 is a very special anniversary, an unhappy anniversary. It's 20 years since the great Alar scare. First of all, Alar was an agricultural chemical that was sprayed on apples to keep them from falling from the tree prematurely, because when they fell from the tree, they fell on the ground and they rotted and they were useless. It was a very useful chemical. But back then, in 1989, there was an environmental group, the Natural Resources Defense Council, working in conjunction with a very large public relations firm, Fenton Communications, and they decided to make a big scare about Alar based on animal testing, rodent testing. So they went to 60 Minutes and they said, "We have a scoop for you." And 60 Minutes did a full segment called A is for Alar, where they scared the heck out of people about the safety of apples. They claimed that apples cause cancer, particularly in children. They had graphics including children in cancer wards. It was really a horrible program, and it terrified people. There were a few scientists who had the courage to get up and say, "Look, this is all nonsense. This is based on nothing." Including scientists from my group, the American Council on Science and Health. We went so far as to actually take out a full-page newspaper ads signed by dozens and dozens of scientists proclaiming that our food is safe. But this became a very highly emotional issue. There are stories about, for example, women who would call the Poison Control Center and ask if it was safe to pour the apple juice down the drain or whether they had to take it to a toxic waste dump. There's a story about a woman who called the police to intercept her child's school bus to get the apple out of the lunchbox. People were scared, and it was very difficult to communicate facts at that point. The irony of this is there was never any risk whatsoever. After the great Alar scare, we had official statements from the U.S. Surgeon General, from the World Health Organization, from the American Medical Association, stating that there was never a risk. This was a purely fanciful event. Now, this was not the first time in history that there was such a big scare. The very, very first one was back in 1959, right at Thanksgiving, when a very similar charge was made based on rodent studies that the cranberries were exposed to a chemical that caused cancer. That particular Thanksgiving, people threw out their cranberry sauce. It was a huge event. They were afraid of getting cranberries and risking their exposure to a carcinogen. The American Council on Science and Health has a full booklet which reviews the major health scares of the last 50, 60 years. You can find that on our website, acsh.org. I think the moral of the story here on the anniversary of the great Alar scare is that we all need to be more discriminating, cautious, and skeptical when someone says, "Oh, there's a carcinogen in your food." Take that with a big grain of salt.